Another line of storms has us under a weather alert. Our team is breaking down the areas which could see heavy rain and strong wind. Then a 16-year-old is killed near Johns Hopkins Hospital.
He was just starting his life.
New today, we're talking with investigators to learn more about what led up to the shooting. A fight between BGE and residents has both sides pleading their case today. Our team has been monitoring the hearing and will break down what happened.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
The law is completely nonpartisan.
Ironic that they waited 2.5 years to try and now have it in 6 months.
It is so important that we actually hold folks accountable here.
They wanted to mess them up right in the middle of a campaign.
Well, history unfolding in front of our eyes. Former President Donald Trump indicted with 18 of his allies. Their crime, alleged efforts to overturn Georgia's 2020 election results. National correspondent Scott Thuman standing by live. He'll join us coming up at 4:30 with the charges and what comes next. Well, first on Fox 45, we are on weather alert today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. Let's take you right now outside. Here's the Fox 45 Chevy Storm Tracker live on those roads right now. Our crew is just about to cross the Key Bridge. We are tracking, by the way, a line of storms that could turn severe this evening.
Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax is live with the first check of our forecast and some ominous clouds out there again today, Jasmine.
Yeah, that's right. Once again, we're seeing those ominous skies as we get ready for showers and storms, which could have an impact on your commute this evening. Now, right now, we're seeing some areas of heavy rain across the state. That is a quickly moving line, and now it's mostly over the eastern shore. In fact, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in place for Queen Anne's and Kent counties that runs through 4:30 p.m. Now, these storms are much quicker than what we had yesterday, so if you are going to be driving, make sure that you are staying alert and make sure that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts that may be issued. As we take a look at the outlook, notice all of the areas in yellow, including much of our region, is under a slight risk for strong to severe storms. Coming up, I'll have a look at the timing of the storms and the impacts that we could see in my full forecast. Back to you.
Thank you. Make sure to keep the Fox 45 WBFF Weather Authority app close by. We will alert you when storms are moving into your area. Just go to your app store, search WBFF to get started.
Here are the three big stories coming up in 10 minutes on Fox 45. A young person falls victim to the city's crime crisis. What we know about a 16-year-old shot and killed yesterday in the city's central district.
New laws on the books are not stopping illegal street racing. We question Baltimore police on their role in stopping incidents like this.
Fox 45 News demands accountability in Baltimore County after a deadly shooting inside a Sky Zone in Timonium.
I'm extremely shocked that it happened in this area. Things are getting out of control with crime. It's scary.
Alexa Ashwell, Rebecca Pryor, and Maxine Stryker have full details on these stories.
Let's go to Alexa Ashwell. Alexa, you're learning more about the murder of a 16-year-old in East Baltimore.
Yes, Kai, Mary, Baltimore police say they're still working to notify this teen's family, so we won't be saying his name right now. His picture is circulating on social media. Many people are posting their reaction to yet another young life lost and questioning what it will take to keep the city's young people safe and alive.
Crime tape and bullet holes, remnants of yesterday evening's crime scene after Baltimore police say someone opened fire here near the corner of North Broadway and Ashland Avenue, just a stone's throw from Johns Hopkins Hospital and Kennedy Krieger Institute. 2 people were shot, a 26-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy. The teen, police say, killed.
He was just starting his life.
Baltimore police have not yet said what they believe led up to the shooting. Witnesses say the victims were standing outside when the gunfire erupted, and one of them ran into this nearby corner store. Here, you can see where bullets pierced through the front door and storefront. One bullet striking this large surveillance monitor inside the store. The business is equipped with indoor and outdoor cameras that many hope will help police solve this teen's murder.
It's sad, but it's life.
It's a sad reality Joseph Gladden III knows all too well. Last Easter, he says his son was one of the 2 teens shot at the Inner Harbor. The 16-year-old left partially paralyzed.
He went down to Inner Harbor on Easter with a friend of his, and gunfire started off, and he was shot twice.
This past Easter.
This past Easter.
How's he doing now?
He's paralyzed from the waist down. A bullet shattered a vertebrae and lodged against the spinal cord after going through a lung.
Life-changing injuries. According to data tracked by Fox 45 News, there have been 13 juvenile homicides so far this year, and another more than 70 young people have been shot in non-fatal shootings. Juveniles falling victim to and committing crimes has been a top concern voiced among residents to Mayor Brandon Scott and acting BPD Commissioner Rich Worley during recent town halls. The leaders hearing the concern, but the bloodshed continues.
I really don't want to see the senseless killing.
I asked. Baltimore police have not yet provided a motive or any suspect description. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, we are covering another shooting, this one in West Baltimore. It puts a man in the hospital just before 11 this morning. Officers responded to the scene on Oxford Court near McCullough Street. A 29-year-old man had been shot multiple times. Police say he is in stable condition, but they did not provide details on his condition tonight. Well, according to Baltimore police, 420 people have survived being shot this year, while 171 people have been killed in the city. Those numbers are down from last year. There is, though, growing concern over a rise in youth crime.
New laws cracking down on illegal street racing aren't deterring some drivers from taking to Baltimore City streets. Here's video right here. Some of you probably heard this, and you know about it from watching this on Fox 45. This is the intersection of North and Mount Royal Avenues. Over the weekend, BPD says police did respond, but no arrests were made. Tonight, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor presses BPD and city leaders on whether those new laws are being properly enforced, which is another question, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, that's right, Kai. Stricter penalties have been on the books for street racers in Baltimore for about 10 months now. But after the scene we saw this weekend, chaos erupting in North Baltimore, the author of that law, Councilman Yitzi Slifer, argues it's not being utilized as often as it should be. Take a listen.
It's being enforced sometimes, but it needs to be enforced all the time. Staffing shortages is the problem there.
Now, Schleifer says to up enforcement with a department that's more than 500 officers down, BPD will need to be strategic about utilizing their resources. He says to crack down on large gatherings like what we saw over the weekend, helicopters can be used to gather license plate information from afar. He also plans on visiting each police precinct individually over the next 2 weeks to brief officers and educate them on this new law.
And Rebecca, since this law went into effect, do we know how many fines, for instance, have been issued or how many arrests have even been made?
No, we don't. I asked for that data specifically from BPD. Yesterday, they said it would take at least a day to track down. I followed up with them again today, but as of news time tonight, have not heard back. Reporting live from BPD headquarters, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, new information tonight on the timeline for acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley's confirmation. Worley is the mayor's pick to lead the department long term. His confirmation hearing was originally set to begin today, but it was delayed. City Council President Nick Mosby now telling Fox 45 News the process is on hold until a series of public comment sessions over his nomination are completed. Well, the first in-person session happened last night at the Lord's Church on Park Heights Avenue. The mayor saying the meetings are an opportunity to talk about how to best build a safer Baltimore and to hear from community members about what they want to see from the city's police commissioner. Baltimore residents taking the opportunity to voice their safety concerns amid a violent summer.
We need more officers to actually live in the city to help pay some of these taxes that is all of us affected by.
You know, I chase people off the steps myself, but you know, that's not my job. So, yeah, so we need to see some police side.
Worley also addressed concerns from the public over the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, admitting mistakes were made and saying he's working to see that it never happens again. There are 3 more in-person comment sessions. You can find them at foxbaltimore.com.
A horrifying crime in Timonium over the weekend has residents on edge. A man was shot and killed inside a Sky Zone trampoline park.
And tonight, County Executive Johnny Olszewski is responding. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live outside Sky Zone. And Maxine, this crime has rocked the community.
Well, it really has, Mary, because so many parents bring their children here for fun, for birthday parties, you name it. It's a very popular space in this community, and now there's a lot of concern that it might not be a safe area to bring children. County Executive Johnny Olszewski did issue a statement after the shooting Saturday night, but he responded today on WBAL Radio C4 and Brian Neiman's show to this community concern. He called the homicide an act of cowardice, says he understands where the concern is coming from.
I come at this as a parent. My daughter and I have been to that location several times, and it's something that is abhorrent. The action that this person has taken, it inflicts, unnecessary trauma on innocent little kids.
Well, the county executive saying it was an isolated incident, police echoing a similar sentiment, but still the concern remains, of course. Coming up at 5, we look at other shocking crimes that have startled the Baltimore County community in the past year. We'll take a closer look at them at 5, but live for now in Timonium, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. Baltimore residents continue to fight with BGE over those external gas regulators. We'll take you inside the Maryland Public Service Commission hearing.
The country's biggest outdoor public arts festival is planned for next month in Baltimore City. The concerns surrounding Artscape brought in front of City Hall today.
And we're following the historic indictment of former President Donald Trump, the allegations that he and allies tried to change Georgia's election results.
And Fox 45 Chevy Storm Tracker live on the roads tonight as we continue to track the storms. You can see some of those dark clouds. We'll check back on traffic and weather conditions coming up next.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
The fight between BGE and Baltimore residents over external gas regulators continues.
Residents and the utility company are making their case today in front of the Maryland Public Service Commission. It comes as a restraining order against BGE is set to expire in less than a month.
We're here because something has gone terribly awry with your program. And I have real concerns right now that with the number of lawsuits and just the people that are upset about how you're treating their homes.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson has been following this dispute for months.
She was inside that meeting, joins us with the very latest on what happened today and what was said. Amy?
Yes, Mary Kai, we've seen this play out both inside of a courtroom and in the court of public opinion. But today, those questions and concerns were brought directly to the group that's tasked with regulating public utilities here in the state of Maryland. That public hearing in front of the Public Service Commission began at 10 o'clock this morning, and it is still underway inside right now. Earlier today, though, a panel of BGE officials were questioned by the Public Service Commission for about 90 minutes. The utility company says it's in the midst of modernizing to a high-pressure gas system, while they are also trying to meet the call to reduce gas emissions. BGE once again standing by its position that it's installing these gas pressure regulators outside of homes to improve safety and avoid incidents of catastrophic disasters involving its gas infrastructure. But residents opposing this utility work question BGE's safety argument and if the company has unilaterally decided to require these external regulators. They want the option to choose if an internal gas regulator can be installed inside of their homes. Opponents also alleging that BGE has bullied customers into agreeing to this utility work. Take a listen to this exchange between one of those commissioners today and a BGE official.
It wasn't that long ago. You had replaced a number of mains in other parts of the city. I think Bolton Hill is often pointed to. So, I mean, are we to understand now that Bolton Hill is not a safe place in your system?
So first of all, let me just say this. We're not saying that regulators on the indoors are not safe. What we are saying is that regulators on the outside are safer.
Now, ultimately, both sides are just looking for the Public Service Commission to issue some clear guidance on how to move forward. Guidance like whether these gas regulators need to be installed inside or outside of homes. And today, one commissioner said that this regulatory group needs to find a middle ground that they can balance safety, those federal and state energy mandates, while also allowing for certain exemptions if and when residents object.
Yeah, giving customers the option for sure. Amy, after more than 6 hours of testimony and public comments that followed, the PSC clearly has a lot of input to consider. What happens next?
Yeah, Mary, 6 hours and ongoing. So the chair of the Public Service Commission today did clearly say that this group will issue guidance on how to move forward, but they said that that directive would not be coming today. No other information was given on a timeline for those answers. Meanwhile, that class action lawsuit against BGE over these external gas regulators is due back in court in just 3 weeks. That's when that temporary restraining order against the utility company is set to expire. We're live in downtown Baltimore today. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Inside Baltimore City Hall today, city leaders were questioned about their preparedness for Artscape. It's the country's biggest outdoor free public arts festival and has been held for 3 years. Last month, the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra and other organizations signed a letter expressing concerns. The group said they've received no communication from BOPA about its plans for the event. Right now, the Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts, which organizes Artscape, is under transition after their CEO resigned last year. During this year's budget hearing, city leaders raised the possibility of severing ties with the organization. Today at City Hall, organizers maintain they're on track to bring Artscape back.
The good news is we're still 6 weeks away. And so a lot of the early planning that we've done in order to get prepared for this allows us to identify those resource gaps and then, obviously, have that addressed.
Well, the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts says they're in communication with BPD. They say they're also looking for an outside contractor to help with traffic and crowd control. Artscape is set for September 22nd through the 24th in Station North in Bolton Hill.
Well, take a look at this. Traffic cameras capturing the moment of a crash yesterday on the Beltway. This is by Wilkins Avenue. Fox 45 News was live on the air with you around 6 when this happened. You can see one car spin across lanes before being struck by another car. We saw the aftermath yesterday. The crash happened as the rain started coming down heavily.
And as we've been telling you, Fox 45 is on weather alert this evening as we track another round of storms. In fact, you're looking at live pictures from Baltimore to Ocean City. The concern right now, heavy downpours and strong wind gusts.
And meteorologist Jasmine Lomax here with our hour-by-hour forecast. It's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah.
We were doing this last night.
Once again, more storms impacting parts of the evening commute. Now, the difference with these storms is that they're much quicker, so they're really in and out of here. We have a severe thunderstorm warning still in place for part of Queen Anne's County. Notice that rain and that heavy rain actually over there, along with many instances of lightning. Now, the big difference is that these storms are much faster. Yesterday, our storms were moving around 20 miles per hour. These storms closer to 40 and even 50 miles per hour. So these are very quick moving storms, but regardless of where you are, make sure you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts that may be issued. We're in this area of pink for a severe thunderstorm watch. We have the threat for some strong, even severe storms, all because of this cold front as it continues to move toward the Atlantic. The good news is that following the cold front, we're talking drier conditions. Notice outside right now, we're still dry, but mostly cloudy. Sky's a little darker. Temperatures around 88 over Baltimore. Winds are out of the south around 10 miles per hour, so those wind speeds picking up a little. Across the state, temperatures mainly in the 80s. Where we have that rain along the eastern shore, we're seeing temperatures in the 70s. So once the rain does pass, we'll have a drop in those temperatures. Through the evening, the chance for some showers and storms. This does continue as we head into the night, possibly some overnight showers, but we're not talking anything severe. Things look much better as we start the day tomorrow, and it looks good as we move forward. Heading into the afternoon, we'll have nice and dry weather, and really we stay pretty quiet over the next several days. We've got a great pattern with dry weather, warm temperatures, and at least lower humidity for tomorrow. Good for being outside. Notice over the next 7 days, rain chances stay at 0. As we move forward tonight, we've got those showers and storms mainly for the evening, then some isolated showers overnight as temperatures fall to 68. Winds will be out of the west-northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. 88 for the high tomorrow, so it will be warm, but we're talking less humidity and plenty of sunshine. Then as we head into the day on Thursday, 89 for the temperature, 88 and sunny on Thursday, mid-80s on Saturday, a really nice day. 90s as we finish out the weekend on Sunday, then temperatures in the 80s and 90s starting off the work week. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. 7 months after a 6-year-old shot and injured his teacher in Newport News, the guilty plea tonight from his mother. And President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan is moving ahead. Why a federal judge says the president has the legal authority to cancel student loans.
This is a worldwide story. Investigators have to sift through what's authentic, what people think is authentic, and then, frankly, disinformation.
And what happened to Rachel Morin, the mother found murdered on a popular hiking trail in Bel Air. Next, we look at the role social media is playing and the search for a killer. The search for a killer continues in Bel Air today, 1 week after the body of a mother was found on a popular hiking trail. It is a story that's captivated residents both here and across the world. Patrice Sanders reports on how the public interest and social media could factor into the investigation.
More than a week has passed since the body of Rachel Morin was found on the Ma and Pa Trail in Harford County. Police have made no arrest in her murder, and they are asking the community for help. Meanwhile, speculation about what happened is running rampant on social media. Rob Weinhold, crisis leadership expert with the Falston Group, says all of that is factored into the investigation.
Well, this has sparked tremendous conversation, and as I look at social media as an investigative tool, I look at outbound messaging. In other words, law enforcement agencies go out and ask for the public's help. If you have any information, contact us, no matter how insignificant you think it is. But then also the incoming information, right? And so there's a lot of information that comes in. This is a worldwide story. Investigators have to sift through what's authentic, what people think is authentic, and then frankly disinformation. And it's quite a job to stitch it all together and identify the data trends and the informational trends. In this case, there's information that only the killer knows, right? And for them to put that information out publicly would really disrupt the integrity of the investigation. So it's an investigative tool to withhold information and make sure that anybody that comes forward who may accidentally cross that boundary and know things they should know because it was not in the court of public opinion will certainly raise the eyebrow of investigators. And so, again, it's a fine line between the public's right to know and preserving the integrity of the investigation.
He says ultimately the goal is to hold someone accountable and to make sure they're able to be prosecuted. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
President Biden's student loan forgiveness is moving ahead. Coming up, the legal victory that's paving the way for thousands of Americans to see their loans wiped.
Why is the newest indictment against Donald Trump so different than all the rest? And did prosecutors make a mistake? I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look at all angles of the case coming up.
Teacher safety in the classroom, the actions being taken in one Maryland county as a new school year is about to begin. Well, former President Donald Trump has now been charged in a fourth criminal case. Late last night, a Georgia grand jury handed up a 41-count indictment. Prosecutors charging Trump and 18 of his allies for trying to overturn the 2020 election.
Let's bring in Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman. So, Scott, history is unfolding in front of our eyes, and according to many, it's a sad day for the country.
Yeah, Kai and Mary, I think that any way you square it, people feel that it's obviously a blemish. It's not a great thing to witness, but at the same time, it opens up all of these debates and fights, and you're hearing a lot of complaints, especially from Donald Trump, chief among them, saying that these trials, not just this upcoming one that will be set eventually for this latest indictment, but that all of them should be held after the 2024 election. He said that anything else would be election interference on a scale never before seen. For Donald Trump, trying to play down his fourth indictment in 5 months, the playbook his usual go-to, paint the prosecution as political.
Meet the cast of unscrupulous accomplices he's assembled to get Trump.
Trump's team pointing to an apparently leaked version of the new indictment around noon on Monday, hours before the grand jury voted. Sounds rigged to me, Trump posted. A familiar defense, but different challenge. Prosecutors using racketeering statutes to allege a more organized effort by Trump to overturn his Georgia loss to Joe Biden. Famed defense attorney Alan Dershowitz.
You don't use RICO to go after people who contested an election. RICO was designed to go after the mob, maybe you go after corporate predators, but you don't go after people who honestly believe that the election was wrong and are doing everything in their power to make it right.
To date, this office has indicted, since I've been sitting as a district attorney, over 12,000 cases. This is the 11th RICO indictment. We followed the same process. We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Fani Willis asserts Trump's team included a scheme to have a group of fake Georgia electors sign papers to falsely tell Congress that Trump won Georgia, not Biden. This case, and the 3 others, could not only test the legal system, but also Americans' faith in the process.
He's going to say, look, they're trying to keep me off the ballot. They're trying to prevent me from winning again the presidency. I've got confidence that we can provide a trial that will be fair and neutral and a result that the public can have confidence in.
Nonetheless, the former U.S. attorney telling us that it's highly unlikely you could see all 4 trials before Election Day, maybe 1 or 2. But beyond that, he also says for any appeals that might be filed, that would be almost impossible for them to see light of day before voters go to the polls.
There are so many different issues and cases here. Another glaring difference in this Georgia case that we learned about last night is the number of defendants.
Well, right. I mean, you're talking about 19 when you include Donald Trump. That is a large number. The reason that's significant is because we keep talking about racketeering and conspiracy charges. What the prosecutors are going to try and prove is that they have, in conjunction, all of these 19 people been working to try and upend or overdo or undo, rather, the 2020 results in Georgia. But to do so, it would show that they were working in concert. In other words, there was a leader, in this case perhaps Donald Trump, and he was ferreting down orders, or at least some sort of direction for everyone to follow. And so it makes it more organized. And that's why when typically you talk about racketeering crimes, you're talking about a mob or a mafia family. So that's where all of this differs from the other 3 indictments we've seen so far this year.
And Scott, we've been speaking with Scott Thuman, of course. Scott, thank you for being here today. We appreciate it.
Sure, Kai. Anytime.
Well, here's where we stand. Trump now faces 4 criminal indictments and more than a half-dozen civil lawsuits. He's pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments in 2016. He's also facing 40 felony counts over alleged mishandling of classified records. Trump is also charged with 4 felony counts over an alleged effort to remain in power after the 2020 presidential election and exploit the January 6th Capitol riot.
Today, Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property manager was arraigned. Carlos de Oliveira is accused of helping the former president illegally hoard classified documents. He entered a not guilty plea. He is scheduled to go to trial in May.
And we want you to join the national conversation. What do you think is the main goal of the Trump indictment? Is it to ensure he is held legally accountable or to derail his 2024 presidential campaign? To vote, take out your phone, open the camera, and point it at that QR code right there on your screen.
The mother of the 6-year-old boy who police say shot his teacher in Virginia pleads guilty to felony child neglect. Her son wounded his teacher in a classroom full of students in Newport News, Virginia. Prosecutors struck a plea deal to drop the misdemeanor charge of reckless storage of a firearm. She's now facing 6 months behind bars under this deal. New tonight, Prince George's County teachers say they fear their students have more than weapons.
It is an issue teachers are hoping to get ahead of as a new school year is set to begin soon. Brad Bell with our Sinclair sister station joins us live now with this story. Brad?
Yeah, you know, Prince George's County Public Schools is a huge system, 130,000 students. They've got problems. They've got a teacher shortage. They've got a bus driver shortage. They've got poor academic performance. And now the teachers are saying going into this year, their #1 priority is their own safety. Prince George's County Schools will be installing metal detectors in phases in high schools throughout the fall semester. They're also moving towards making clear backpacks mandatory. The system's new superintendent saying in July, keeping weapons out of schools is a top priority.
That line has to be drawn. It's just not going to be tolerated.
In showing off a new school, both House and County Executive Angela Alsobrooks spoke of built-in security features.
We've had to integrate that in the design.
Now, the head of the County Educators Association says while those measures are appreciated, they don't get at their biggest concern.
Our day-to-day problem is not so much weapons, but it's the fighting and the disrespect that goes on in the buildings.
We have reported on the fights in schools, some between students, sometimes teachers become involved. Earlier this year, a county elementary school teacher says she suffered a concussion when she alleged 2 children attacked her during playground recess. Christie says metal detectors won't prevent such incidents.
We all need to come together and work together to get at the root of what's going on with our kids.
Something is going on.
Something is definitely going on.
Christie believes juvenile justice reform has left some children feeling they can't be punished for their actions. She also says the pandemic is still having an impact, especially when it comes to kids who've been chronically absent.
Where are they and what's going on? And then when they do show back up, they have massive educational gaps because they haven't been in school. And they're not accustomed to being in school and having to follow directions. And they're also, whatever trauma they've endured, that's going to be acted out behaviorally.
So what is the school system going to do? Well, there is a brand new superintendent on the job here, just got on the job July 1st. He has promised that there will be a 90-day plan that'll address all sorts of issues. We expected it some time ago. We have been asking for it. We're told that that plan will be coming out soon. In Prince George's County, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
As transparency and leadership problems mount at the Maryland State Department of Education, the state school board must soon vote on who they want as their leader.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, that vote could be days away. But public officials like Governor Wes Moore have yet to publicly weigh in.
On Tuesday, August 22nd, the Maryland State Board of Education is set to meet to discuss who will lead the Maryland State Department of Education for the next 4 years. Current Superintendent Mohammed Chaudhry's contract expires in June. If Chaudhry gets a new contract, that must be finalized by the end of September, meaning this body must soon decide if he stays or is replaced.
We did not.
State leaders, including Governor Wes Moore, have yet to publicly weigh in on the issue. Though earlier this year, the governor did voice concerns.
The fact that there is not the level of coordination between the Department of Education and the governor's office is something that needs to be fixed. It's something that needs to be addressed.
Over the past 6 months, the superintendent has found himself mired in controversy, which began in February January, when Project Baltimore analyzed 2022 state testing data and found 23 Baltimore City schools where 0 students tested scored proficient in math. Following that report, MSDE changed how it reports test results to the public, making less information available to parents and taxpayers about how public schools are performing.
Mr. Chaudhry.
In April, when we first tried to speak with the superintendent about that decision, he locked himself behind a door.
On the website.
When the state testing data was changed, the public and many state officials were not informed, including Governor Wes Moore. In April, Fox 45 asked him about it.
Where it is an independent body, it's an independent structure, and while we respect that, we also understand that we've got to do better when it comes to being able to present accountable, transparent results in our public education system.
Who's taking responsibility for all these glaring leadership failings?
But it's not just Governor Moore who has concerns. Former MSDE employees like Robert Eccles have spoken publicly, challenging Chaudhry's leadership style.
Transformational leaders actually lead people and don't disparage them. They invite feedback and can take criticism without retaliation.
Project Baltimore has also spoken with other former MSDE employees who say under Chaudhry, a toxic workplace culture has developed.
I do not believe that this is the person that should be leading our state into the future.
And then there's this. In April, Project Baltimore filed a public records request asking for emails and text messages sent and received by the superintendent from January to March, the time frame when the state changed how it publicly reports test scores. From that request, we learned the superintendent uses a secondary email account to conduct state business. At first, MSDE hid the email addresses behind a redaction. When Fox 45 challenged the legality of that redaction, the state removed the black, exposing the superintendent's hidden account.
Oh, he's got, redacted emails and a burner account? I mean, to me, this is fireable.
To me, Annapolis state legislators should be concerned about this.
But that's not all. We also learned from our records request of 98 text messages deleted from the superintendent's phone, a possible violation of state laws.
If someone willfully deletes a public record, it's a crime, and they can go to jail for up to 3 years. So it's a very serious violation of the law here in Maryland if that was done.
Project Baltimore sent an email to Governor Moore asking if he supports the state board renewing Superintendent Chaudhry's contract, which could happen as soon as next Tuesday. The governor's office told Project Baltimore they are aware of Fox 45's reporting and are monitoring the situation. Though at this time, the governor's office has no comment. The State Board of Education on Monday sent Fox 45 a lengthy email concerning how it's responding to the 98 text messages on the state superintendent's phone that were deleted. We are still working our way through that email. We'll bring you an update in the coming days. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Thousands of people are about to get their student loans forgiven, the legal victory for the Biden administration.
And we're keeping track of showers and storms moving across the state. I'll let you know when the rain clears coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Back now with Fox 45 Quad Box. A former FBI special agent charged with helping a Russian oligarch is in court. Charles McGonigal is in charge of the Counterintelligence Division. He's one of the highest-ranking FBI officials ever criminally charged. The firm UBS has to pay $1.4 billion in a settlement with the Justice Department. The government says the company defrauded investors. That case is part of the probe into the role Wall Street firms played in the 2008 financial crisis. Hundreds of thousands of Americans are about to have their student debt payments wiped clean. Last night, a federal judge tossed out a lawsuit from two groups saying the president doesn't have the authority to write off the loans. According to the Department of Education, the Biden administration has handed out nearly $117 billion in student debt relief to more than 3 million borrowers. 99 people are confirmed dead in the fires in Hawaii. There are more than 2,000 people, however, still missing. But Hawaii's governor says that number has dropped down to about 1,300. Search and rescue crews continue.
We are keeping close watch on the HD radar as we deal with rain and storms currently moving around the state. We did have a severe thunderstorm warning for part of Kent and Queen Anne's counties. However, that has expired, and those showers and storms are quickly moving to the northeast. Now we're looking at an area closer to D.C. and in parts of Northern Virginia. That's where we have some heavy rain. That will continue to move toward the northeast as we head into the next few hours. We also have an aerial flood watch in place, so make sure that you are staying alert and have multiple ways of receiving any warnings that may be issued. We're primarily talking the chance for heavy rain, which could lead to some cases of flooding and even ponding on roadways. But there's also the chance of gusty winds as these storms continue to move across our region. This is all happening as a cold front continues to move east. Behind that cold front, we'll return to nice and dry weather, but first storms for the evening and a few showers overnight. 88 and mostly cloudy currently over Baltimore with winds out of the south around 10 miles per hour. Even though we are nice and dry right now, we still have those storms on the way. Temperatures are mainly in the 80s across the state, but those numbers will begin to drop as the rain passes. Notice as we head into the night, we'll have the chance for a few showers, but this does clear by tomorrow morning. Looks good as you start the day. You should have a nice and dry commute. Then into the afternoon, we'll have some more sunshine. And after that, we stay nice and dry as we move forward and head into the weekend. The next few days will be quiet. We'll have lower humidity, and that's all behind this current cold front. So as we take a look at the next 7 days, really rain chances stay at 0. 68 for the low temperature with spotty showers following those storms. Then tomorrow, 88 for the high with plenty of sunshine. It'll also be less humid, so if you've been waiting to get outside and maybe do some yard work, tomorrow's a good day to do that. We're just under 2 weeks away from the start of the school year for Baltimore City and Baltimore County, along with Hartford, Howard, and Anne Arundel counties, and a little over 20 days away for Carroll, Cecil, and Kent counties. We are counting down to the bus stop forecast. 89 on Thursday, then 88 with plenty of sunshine on Friday. Saturday, temperatures in the mid-80s. We finish the weekend in the 90s on Sunday, again with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures will be in the mid-90s on Monday, then the upper 80s on Tuesday. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Well, if you want a good laugh, a nationally known comedian will be coming to Maryland Live Casino in October. You might know of comedian Tiffany Haddish from movies like Night School, Nobody's Fool, and Like a Boss. If you're interested, pre-sale tickets released tomorrow, August 16th. Be sure to get yours while you can. And we got to enjoy some entertainment ourselves today when Parliament Funkadelic gives us a preview of their performance tonight right here in our Fox 45 studio. The award-winning group has been active since the 1960s. Benny Cowan, the band's leader, said the Baltimore City school system is where he was introduced to music. This group of 7 told us this morning it's their mission to serve the inner city with music. As locals, they want to use their time and talent to do good. Take a listen. Parliament, not just deep, knee-deep. Love this group. Don't forget to catch their entire performance tonight at the Lyric. It starts at 7:30 if you plan on attending. Coming up on Fox 45 at 5 o'clock, when will the city get its new police commissioner? Fox 45 News presses council leaders on why they haven't held a confirmation for Richard Worley.
Tempers flare between the Ravens and the Commanders in their first joint practice in Owings Mills. John Harbaugh weighs in on the dust-up, coming up next on Sports Unlimited. It had all the feels of a game-like atmosphere, the big plays, the oohs and ahs, and of course the chippiness as the Ravens and Commanders got together in Owings Mills for their first of two joint practices. Rashad Bateman and J.K. Dobbins both seemed to be progressing in their returns to the field as they went through individual drills, but did not participate in team drills. And as for those team drills, tempers flared multiple times. First between Tylan Wallace and Emmanuel Forbes, then the very next play, it was Mark Andrews body slamming Danny Johnson to the ground. But when the energy is high, sometimes these dust-ups happen.
It's not really unexpected. I felt they got handled pretty quickly. We called the guys up there on our field over there on our offensive field and talked to our guys, and Ron talked to their guys, and after that it was calmed down. So I felt good about that.
I think we were all just discussing some stuff in that big huddle that was going on the field. And then I looked over on the offensive field. It looked like they were having some discussions about the weather tomorrow as well. So practices can always get chirpy, but I think it was really good that it didn't turn into a big, gigantic brawl. Just got heated and then kind of died down, which shows a lot of maturity on both teams.
You heard Harbaugh say it. It's not like these things are unexpected, but overall, a really good showing for both teams in the first of two joint practices here in Owings Mills. For now in Owings Mills, Rocco DeSangro for Sports Unlimited.
Well, the Women's World Cup is in its final stretch. Spain has defeated Sweden to clinch a spot in the final. It's their first time ever. And tomorrow morning, Australia will play England, with the winner advancing to play Spain in the finals. You can catch the game live at 6 a.m. on Fox 45. Our morning show will be on the CW Baltimore during that time. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, BPD responds to illegal street racing, but no arrests are made, while a council member says the laws in Baltimore aren't being enforced. And one of Donald Trump's competitors is demanding he drop out of the Republican primary. The reaction to the former president's fourth criminal indictment.
We are on weather alert tonight with storms moving across Maryland. The latest on what you can expect.
Complaints tonight that some laws on the books aren't being enforced consistently in Baltimore. Fox 45 News pressed the city council members on the police department's failure to stop street racing in the city.
Another young victim in Baltimore. What we're learning about the murder of a 16-year-old.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We're on weather alert tracking storms across the state. This is a live look at our Weather Authority radar, the Inner Harbor, and the conditions on the eastern shore, or eastern Maryland, near Elkton, actually. It seems like those storms missed us in Baltimore, but are still threatening to bring some rain to some areas. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax in now with the latest on what comes next for some parts of Maryland. Jasmine?
Yeah, that's right. And as you said it, the storms really did miss us here in Baltimore, but they were a little bit farther south. So Glen Burnie, Annapolis saw some of that heavy rain, and then those storms moved over to the eastern shore where we had a severe thunderstorm warning in place. Now we're keeping track of some areas of heavy rain closer to northern Virginia and into southern Maryland. That will move to the northeast over the next few hours. So for parts of the state, that could mean some areas of heavy rain and brief downpours. Make sure that you are staying alert. We remain under a slight risk for strong to severe storms. That's all of the areas in yellow, threat level 2 of 5. Coming up, we'll have a look at the timing of the storms and what you can expect for the rest of the week and my full forecast. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
New laws on the books meant to crack down on illegal street racing, clearly not deterring some reckless drivers from taking to Baltimore City streets. This is video from over the weekend at the intersection of North and Mount Royal Avenues. Now, BPD says officers responded to the incident, but no arrests were made. Tonight, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor pressing BPD and city leaders on whether the new laws are being properly enforced. Rebecca?
Mary, stricter penalties for street racing in Baltimore City has been on the books for about 10 months now. But after the scene you just saw over the weekend, the councilman behind that law argues it's not being utilized as often as it should be.
It's a problem plaguing the streets of Baltimore for years now. But late last year, Mayor Brandon Scott signing a new law carrying a $1,000 fine or 1 year in jail for incidents like these. Meant to target reckless drivers, passengers, and even onlookers.
I've seen them take action.
The bill's author, Councilman Yitzi Schleifer, sending Fox 45 cell phone video he took back in February of a car doing endless donuts in the Northwest Baltimore parking lot. Schleifer saying he called it in and witnessed BPD crack down on his new street racing law firsthand.
Ended up writing them a series of tickets and towing the person's car.
But that wasn't the case over the weekend. BPD making no arrests despite police lights shining in the background as hundreds gathered at the intersection of North and Mount Royal Avenue watching drag racers and drifters taking over and shutting down the heavily trafficked area for at least an hour, barely missing those standing dangerously close to the action.
It's being enforced sometimes, but it needs to be enforced all the time.
On Monday, Fox 45 asking the department exactly how many fines and arrests has BPD made under the new street racing law. We're still waiting for an answer and for an explanation why responding officers claimed this weekend's scene was clear upon their arrival.
Staffing shortages is the problem there.
To up enforcement with a department that's more than 500 officers down, Schleifer now planning a trip to each individual police precinct,
Educating them on the law and how to properly enforce it.
including offering new strategies and tactics to tackle more crime with less officers.
The Foxtrot is a force multiplier. The helicopter, can be overhead, can gather license plates information. We can start working on citations that way as well.
And not only is this a danger to drivers, but it also prevents emergency vehicles like ambulances from getting where they need to be. It's just another reason why Schleifer says enforcement needs to improve. Reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. A shooting in West Baltimore puts a man in the hospital. Around 11 this morning, police responded to Oxford Court near McCullough Street. A 29-year-old man was shot multiple times. Police say he is stable, but did not provide information on his condition definitively. Anyone with information about the shooting should contact city police.
And according to Baltimore police, 420 people have survived being shot this year, while 171 people have been killed in the city. Those numbers both down from last year, but there is growing concern over a rise in youth crime.
A 16-year-old is the latest young person to fall victim to violence in Baltimore. Police say the teen was shot and killed in a double shooting in the city's Central District. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell joins us live right now with more in this case. Alexa.
Yes, Kai, and in just the past hour, Baltimore police confirmed it's believed this was a drive-by shooting. An exact motive remains under investigation. The victim killed in this case, just 16 years old. This is where investigators say that homicide happened, North Broadway near Ashland Avenue around 6 yesterday evening. At the scene, we found leftover crime tape as well as several bullet holes in a nearby corner store. Police say the two victims, a 26-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy, were standing on the sidewalk when a white vehicle pulled up and an occupant began firing in their direction. Both victims rushed to an area hospital with gunshot wounds. The teen pronounced dead. Again, an exact motive remains unclear. Juveniles falling victim to and committing crimes has been a top concern voiced by residents. We spoke with a father who says his 16-year-old son was one of the two teens who were shot at the Inner Harbor just this past Easter.
He went down to Inner Harbor on Easter with a friend of his, and gunfire started off and he was shot twice.
This past Easter?
This past Easter.
How's he doing now?
He's paralyzed from the waist down. A bullet shattered a vertebrae and lodged against the spinal cord after going through a lung.
According to data kept by our station, Fox 45 News, there have been 13 juvenile homicides so far this year. In addition, another more than 70 young people have been shot in non-fatal shootings. As for this latest case, Baltimore police say they're still notifying this teen's family, so we won't be naming him. No suspect description has been provided. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, some new information tonight on the timeline for acting Baltimore City Police Commissioner Richard Worley's confirmation. Worley is the mayor's pick to lead the department long term. His confirmation hearing was originally set to begin today, but it was delayed. City Council President Nick Mosby now telling Fox 45 News the process is on hold until a series of public comment sessions over Worley's nomination end. The first of those in-person sessions happened last night at the Lord's Church on Park Heights Avenue. The mayor saying the meetings are an opportunity to talk about how best to build a safer Baltimore and hear from community members about what they want to see from the city's police commissioner. Baltimore residents taking the opportunity to voice their safety concerns amid a violent summer.
We need more officers to actually live in the city to help pay some of these taxes that is all of us affected by.
You know, I chase people off the steps myself, but you know, that's not my job. So, yeah, so we need to see some police out.
Well, Worley also addressed concerns from the public over the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, admitting mistakes were made, adding he is working to see that it doesn't happen again. Now, there are 3 more in-person comment sessions. The next one will take place a week from today at the Shake and Bake Family Fun Center on Pennsylvania Avenue. For more information, head to foxbaltimore.com.
A shocking crime in Timonium happens over the weekend and has residents on edge after a man is shot and killed inside the Sky Zone trampoline park. But it's not the first crime to shock the conscience of Baltimore County residents this year. And tonight, County Executive Johnny Olszewski is responding. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live outside Sky Zone. And Maxine, this crime has really shocked this community.
Kai, it has, because so many families bring their children here for fun, for birthday parties, what be it, and many of them are just stunned and concerned now that it might not be a safe place to bring their children.
We just got a call for shots fired at 23 West Allery at the Sky Zone.
Saturday night, police say 30-year-old Quentin Walker opened fire inside the Sky Zone trampoline park in Timonium, killing Marcus Whitehead as children fled for their safety. According to charging documents, Walker traveled from Colorado to visit his child. He told police he shot Whitehead after he stood up and started walking towards him inside the trampoline park.
I'm extremely shocked that it happened in this area.
The brazen crime has startled the suburbs.
Things are getting out of control with crime. It's scary. I don't even like going in the city anymore, and that really kind of terrifies me that it's happening here, too.
County Executive Johnny Olszewski on WBAL Radio's C4 and Brian Neiman show this morning.
Shock, horrifying, they're all the right descriptors of what happened here.
Calling the homicide an act of cowardice. He says he understands where the concern is coming from.
I come at this as a parent. My daughter and I have been to that location several times, and it's something that is abhorrent. The action that this person has taken, it inflicts, unnecessary trauma on innocent little kids.
However, crime has bled into many Baltimore County communities this year, leaving residents on edge from Towson to Pikesville. At the beginning of February, 3 victims were raped at gunpoint just steps from the Towson Circle.
It's becoming a very unsafe place to live, and this is not what we expected living in Towson.
Later that month, a 17-year-old boy was killed near the Towson Town Center. County leaders, police, and business owners gathering a day later for a crime walk, where Olszewski pledged additional security measures. In April, a 17-year-old was shot and killed in Overly. In June, there was a homicide in Lansdowne, another in Woodlawn. Last month, a 45-year-old woman was found shot dead near Pikesville High School. And in Timonium this month, a man was arrested after assaulting a woman in Carter's children's store. According to police data, there have been a total of 14 homicides through the end of June, down from the same time period last year. But still, worry from parents after Saturday night's shooting, as Olszewski promises it was an outlier.
While this is tragic and shocking and horrifying, it does appear to be isolated.
Well, Walker, the suspect in this case, is being held without bond. A preliminary hearing is set for September 8th in Towson. Reporting live in Timonium, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
An 11-year-old suspect gets no punishment after being accused of helping steal a car. We're asking law enforcement experts what can be done to hold juvenile criminals accountable.
An historic fourth criminal indictment against former President Trump. We break down the charges he's facing and how he may try to defend himself.
Baltimore residents and BGE making their cases in front of the Public Service Commission today. The impact the hearing could have in the fight over external gas regulators.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
The fight between BGE and Baltimore residents over gas regulators continues. Residents in the utility company make their case in front of the Maryland Public Service Commission.
It comes as a restraining order against BGE is set to expire. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has been following this dispute for months now. She was inside that meeting today. Amy, give us the very latest on what happened.
Yeah, Mary and Kai, that public hearing began at 10 a.m. this morning and lasted more than 6 hours, speaking to just how much this topic has struck a nerve.
A packed room in Baltimore City today.
We're here because something has gone terribly awry with your program.
As the Maryland Public Service Commission, the regulatory body for utilities statewide, takes up the controversial debate about BGE's external gas regulators.
And I have real concerns right now that with the number of lawsuits and just the people that are upset about how you're treating their homes,
A BGE panel questioned by the commission for 90 minutes. The utility company says it's in the midst of modernizing to a high-pressure gas system, also trying to meet the call to reduce gas emissions. Today, BGE stood by its position that it's installing gas pressure regulators outside to improve safety, to avoid incidents like this on its gas infrastructure, showing examples of catastrophic disasters around the country in recent years.
We're trying to be reasonable. We're trying to work with customers, but the customers are just saying we don't want them on the outside at all. We want them on the inside. And that's just a fundamental disagreement we have with the customer.
But residents opposing outside gas regulators continue questioning BGE's safety argument and want the option to choose where those regulators are installed at their homes, pointing to neighborhoods where regulators were most recently put indoors.
So, I mean, are we to understand now that Bolton Hill is not a safe place in your system?
So first of all, let me just say this. We're not saying that regulators on the indoors are not safe. What we are saying is that regulators on the outside are safer.
Some say they oppose outside regulators, citing damage to their historic properties, or have their own concerns about cars or vandalism, damaging gas equipment installed so close to the road. Opponents also allege BGE has bullied customers into agreeing to have external regulators installed.
Because of the pushback, they told them, if you don't agree to get these regulators, then we are going to shut off your gas. This was in the dead winter time.
It is well past time for city and state officials to protect the city of Baltimore and its citizens from the predatory practices of a company that cares more for its investors at Exelon than the customers it is supposed to serve.
Ultimately, all sides are looking for the Public Service Commission to issue clear guidance on how to move forward. Guidance like whether gas regulators need to be installed inside or outside. One commissioner said they need to find a middle ground to balance safety, federal and state energy mandates, but also allow for certain exemptions if and when residents object.
Now today, the chair of the Public Service Commission did say that this regulatory body will issue a directive on how to move forward, but no timeline was given on when that decision will come, just saying an announcement would not be made today. Meanwhile, that class action lawsuit against BGE over these external gas regulators is due to be back in court in just 3 weeks. That's when that temporary restraining order is set to expire. We're live downtown. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Thank you. Well, 3 women who were arrested while protesting BGE gas regulators in their neighborhood also spoke at that meeting today. Baltimore police arrested the women, claiming they were interfering with a public utilities work in Federal Hill. After spending a night in jail, they were released. Their charges were recently dropped. The state's attorney's office says the time the group spent in jail was a sufficient punishment for the initial charges.
Fox 45 is tracking a weather alert tonight. This is a live look right now at Ocean City on the eastern shore, where skies are starting to get a bit darker with some rain on the way. Our weather radar in Salisbury, where they're already dealing with storms. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax is here with the very latest. Jasmine.
Yeah, that's right. We are dealing with storms once again, but these aren't as widespread as what we saw yesterday. However, there's still the chance for heavy rain over the next few hours. So for drivers, they do want to make sure that they are driving safely and maybe add some extra time to your commute this evening. Even into the night, we'll have the chance for a few showers lingering across the state. We remain under this flood watch through tonight. Notice that the heaviest of rain has moved east. We're keeping track of a few showers, though, now starting to move into Anne Arundel County. That heavy rain will continue to move to the northeast over the next few hours, so you can prepare for some brief downpours and possibly gusty winds. We're also under the severe thunderstorm watch, meaning that some of these storms could be strong, even severe. This is all happening as this cold front continues to move east. That's our latest weather maker, and behind the cold front, you can expect drier weather and lower humidity tomorrow. 82 currently over Baltimore with mostly cloudy skies. Around the state, temperatures are mainly in the 70s and the 80s. And even though we're still dry here in Baltimore, we remain under a slight risk for strong to severe storms. That's threat level 2 of 5 for all of the areas in yellow. we're primarily talking heavy rain and the potential for some gusty winds, so make sure that you have multiple ways of receiving any alerts that may be issued. This is around 6 o'clock. We're still tracking that heavy rain as it moves toward the northeast. We'll have a few spotty showers into the night, but we're not looking at anything widespread or severe. All of this clears, and we start with dry weather and plenty of sunshine tomorrow morning. By the afternoon, again, plenty of sunshine as temperatures reach the upper 80s and possibly the low 90s. And it looks good moving into Thursday. The next several days will be dry following our storms, and behind that cold front, we stay dry over the next 7 days. Temperatures tonight fall to 68 with a few spotty showers. Then tomorrow, we're looking at highs in the upper 80s and low 90s, but it's not going to be super humid. We'll also have plenty of sunshine. We keep this nice pattern going on Thursday, 89 for the high, 88 on Friday with plenty of sunshine, mid-80s on Saturday, so below average temperatures, but then we jump to the 90s on Sunday. After that, mid-90s on Monday, and then the upper 80s on Tuesday. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. What tips are true and which ones will steer them in the wrong direction? A crisis management expert weighs in on some of the complications law enforcement is facing in the Rachel Morin murder investigation. And what will Donald Trump's defense be for his most recent indictment, breaking down the new charges the former president is facing? And new details on what led to FBI agents killing a Utah man who was threatening the president, why the agency says agents believe they had to shoot him. Time for a look at our Fox 45 quad box. Hunter Biden's lead criminal defense attorney wants off the case. In a request to withdraw, Christopher Clark told a federal judge he could now be called as a witness in future proceedings since Biden's plea agreement will be contested. A plea deal related to tax offenses and a gun possession charge fell through last week. The mother of a Virginia 6-year-old who shot his first-grade teacher pleaded guilty to felony child neglect today. Prosecutors say they're seeking a 6-month prison sentence. deaths. The Utah man killed by the FBI allegedly pointed a handgun at FBI agents. The FBI says 75-year-old Craig Robertson resisted arrest and pointed a revolver at agents, leading to the shooting. Agents were trying to arrest him for 3 felonies, including making threats against the president and agents who had been investigating him. A record number of Americans died from drug overdoses last year, 110,000 deaths. According to a new Kaiser poll, 2/3 of Americans say either they or a family member have been addicted to alcohol or drugs. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com, click on Mobile Alert Sign Up under the Station tab. An early start could change the course of a student's life. Why Anne Arundel County is pushing kids to consider their future college and career as they head back to school. An 11-year-old gets no punishment after being accused of stealing a car. Talking with the law enforcement expert who says the state's juvenile justice laws need to change. And Donald Trump indicted for the 4th time, breaking down the criminal charges he is now facing over election interference in Georgia.
Fox 45 is on weather alert tonight, tracking storms across the state. This is a live look at our Weather Authority radar, the Inner Harbor, and cameras by Salisbury. Seems like those storms missed us in Baltimore, but they are bringing rain to southeastern Maryland. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax is here with the latest. Jasmine.
Thanks, Kai. That's right. We had that first round of storms move just south of us and then over the eastern shore, leading to areas of heavy rain storms. We even had a severe thunderstorm warning there. That has now moved east, but we're keeping track of another area of rain and storms. That also looks like it's going to stay to our south, but Anne Arundel County, including Annapolis, looking at heavy rain over the next half hour or so as these showers and storms quickly move to the northeast. We remain under an aerial flood watch, and that expires tonight around 8 p.m. So with this heavy rain, we could have some instances of ponding, and then low-lying areas, we could even see some flooding. Coming up, we'll have a closer look at the timing of these storms, and I'll let you know what to expect for the rest of the week and by Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted in the Georgia election interference case. Trump is one of 19 people named in the indictment. He is charged with multiple crimes, including racketeering, soliciting a public official, making false statements, and conspiracy. Arrest warrants have already been issued. The historic indictment is the fourth criminal case that Trump is currently facing. And all of this comes as the former president is still leading the Republican primary polling by a wide margin.
Tonight, we're joined by our chief political correspondent, Scott Thuman, to break down this most recent indictment. Scott, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Anytime.
Both sides have kind of laid out their strategies. What are prosecutors saying at this point?
Yeah, Kai and Mary, it's interesting because you pointed out twice now, and we heard it in the soundbite from Fani Willis, the words racketeering, conspiracy, and then a mention of not just Donald Trump, but multiple co-defendants. The reason that's significant and what prosecutors are going to try and paint a picture for a jury is that this was a plot, a scheme that was well contrived, it was choreographed, it was directed perhaps by Donald Trump, but nonetheless involved all of these people because they had a similar goal, and it was with a concerted effort. That's why you also heard the word conspiracy so often, because they say in this effort, it shows that there is a lot of responsibility to bear by all of these people. They all took part in some way in criminal acts, and therefore they phrase it under the same type of legal terminology that you typically only hear when you're talking about prosecutions of mafia families or a mob or gang activity, where there's some sort of structure involved and that it's well thought out in advance. That's what they claim is going to take place when they get into court. Keep in mind, this indictment, almost 100 pages long. Despite the fact that we've already mentioned there are 19 defendants, including the former president, there's also talk of dozens of co-conspirators who are unindicted and unidentified at this point. So, big picture.
So with RICO charges in here, what kind of defense will Trump try to mount? What could he say?
Well, there are going to be two, Mary. There's always with Donald Trump the court of public opinion, where he likes to fight a lot of his battles, at least primarily. And in that case, he's going to continue to say that he is the subject of a witch hunt, but primarily that this is an effort by President Biden and his Justice Department, including these prosecutors and these four indictments, to really go after him to prevent him from winning the White House again. And so there's a new ad that was unleashed where he called them a fraud squad. And so I think you're going to see these continued attacks on the prosecutors themselves as being politically motivated. Now, on the other front, you're talking a legal battle, much more difficult, much more sensitive in many ways. And so with that respect, you're going to hear a lot of the defense from Trump's team saying, you can't claim that we didn't believe that we were wronged, that this election was not on the up and up. We had reason to be skeptical. We pursued that. We wanted to find the truth. We believe we won, and we have a right to question the results that we found suspect. That's a tough thing to prove sometimes, but again, the prosecutors say they've got a lot of evidence to show the contrary.
So, Scott, how quickly could any of these cases be heard? Keeping in mind we have, what, two federal, two state indictments. Is there an order of priority, so to speak?
Yeah, on a good day, on a case that is not nearly as high profile, these things can take a lot of time, and we're talking months. In this particular instance, when you look at 4 different cases, I spoke to a former U.S. attorney. He said highly unlikely you would ever hear all 4 of these before Election Day, perhaps 1 or 2. And if you had to pick, he thought maybe the classified documents case out of Florida or the January 6th case out of Washington, D.C. here, those might be heard first. But nonetheless, if you stretch this out even further, think about it. If there's a conviction against Donald Trump, well, it's only natural you would expect there would be an appeal. And he says there's almost an impossibility that any sort of appeal would be heard before voters go to the polls.
Sets up a very interesting campaign season.
Yeah.
All right, Scott Thuman reporting live for us from Washington, D.C. tonight. Thank you. And Donald Trump took to his social media platform Truth Social to respond to the indictment. Trump calling the Georgia district attorney who indicted him corrupt. The former president also called the timing of the indictments into question, accusing prosecutors of waiting until he was in the middle of his 2024 campaign.
On the campaign trail, some of the former president's competitors are reacting to the charges. Today, Republican candidate Asa Hutchinson says it's time for Trump to step down.
I said over a year ago, that Donald Trump should withdraw from the race because of what he is facing. And if you put our country first, then that's exactly what you would do. And that case is only made stronger with every indictment and case that is brought against him.
For our full coverage on the Trump indictment in Georgia and all his legal battles, head to foxbaltimore.com.
Westbound on Jefferson and turning northbound on Curley occupied multiple times with juveniles.
Over the weekend, another group of kids caught stealing cars. Last Friday night, 4 kids took off in a stolen car from Baltimore County and ended up in southeast Baltimore. It is just the latest in a string of incidents involving kids and crime. Now, one of those suspects was just 11 years old. Because of their age, that juvenile walked away without a punishment under the state's juvenile justice laws. This morning, Megan Gillen spoke with a law enforcement expert who says those policies need to change.
Just days ago, a high-speed car chase in Baltimore City stemming from a stolen car in Baltimore County. The suspects, 4 young kids between the ages of 11 and 14. They were all apprehended, but the 11-year-old was let go because of their age. Law enforcement expert Mari Richards weighing in on this. Mari, because of Maryland's Juvenile Justice Reform Act, that 11-year-old could not be charged. Do you think this needs to be changed?
Well, absolutely. We've been talking about this for more than a year, Megan, and when you have a General Assembly who's going to enact laws that care more about protecting criminals rather than victims, this is what you get.
So when you look at 11-year-old kids, is putting them in jail the place to go? Is finding resources? What do you do?
Well, it's a combination of all those things. It's also having strong families, which we don't have. But you start with the basics. There has to be accountability for breaking the law.
A group of state lawmakers is holding a committee meeting next month to talk about how juvenile justice laws impact juvenile crime. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
New tonight, Artscape is under the microscope. The country's biggest outdoor free public arts festival hasn't been held for 3 years. Last month, the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra and some other organizations signed a letter expressing their concerns. The group said they had received no communication from BOPA about its plans for the event. Right now, the Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts, which organizes Artscape, is under transition after their CEO resigned last year. During this year's budget hearing, city leaders raised the possibility of severing ties with the organization. At City Hall today, organizers maintain they're on track to bring Artscape back.
The good news is we're still 6 weeks away. And so a lot of the early planning that we've done in order to get prepared for this allows us to identify those resource gaps and then, obviously, have that addressed.
Now, when it comes to public safety, BOPA says they're in communication with BPD. They say they're also looking for an outside contractor to help with traffic and crowd control. Artscape is set for September 22nd through 24th in Station North and Bolton Hill.
It has been more than a week since Rachel Morin's body was found, and police still have not identified a suspect in her murder. Morin was found along the popular Ma and Pa Trail in Harford County. Since her body was found, police presence in the area has been increased, and speculation over what may have happened to her is running rampant online. Tonight, a crisis leadership expert tells Fox 45 News social media chatter is having an impact on the investigation.
Well, this has sparked tremendous conversation. And as I look at social media as an investigative tool, I look at outbound